Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Investor Fuel podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Kesil, and today I'm joined by someone that I'm really looking forward to chatting with, Rod Khleif. Hopefully I pronounced your last name correctly.
You did perfectly.
Awesome. Who's been making serious moves in the real estate investing space. Rod, we are so glad to have you here today. I think our listeners are really going to take something away from how you're approaching the real estate investing space, specifically with your expertise on mindset and psychology and your school that you have. So let's dive into all of that. First off, for people who may not be familiar with you and your world, just give us the short version. What is your main focus these days?
So my main focus, I'm in acquisition mode. So I own multifamily properties and also senior housing. We're actually just getting started in senior housing. We have our first property under contract and ready to close. But I'm also a coach and a mentor. So I host the largest real estate podcast in the world for commercial real estate. And I teach people how to buy apartment complexes. And in fact, I just had a boot camp with hundreds of people, a virtual one from this studio right here this last weekend. I'm still recovering a little bit because it's me for 16 hours. But yeah, so I do boot camps and I teach people how to buy apartment complexes. And I'll brag for a moment. I've been doing it for a little over 7 years. And my students own well over 260,000 units that we know of. In fact, it's probably quite a bit more than that, but we just can't even keep track anymore. And it's because of mindset and psychology. And you know, if you allow me to tell my story, I'll explain a little bit more into that. But you know, 80 to 90% of a person's success in anything is their mindset and psychology. Only 10 to 20% is the mechanical stuff we talk about on our podcast. It's really the do and it's the keep doing. It's the pushing through fear. It's the getting uncomfortable, you know, to make things happen. And that's why my students are so successful. They actually do it. So.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. So let's hear more of your story. I would love for the audience to get to know that.
Perfect. For those of you that have heard it, I apologize. I'll try to be brief. But so I'm a Dutch immigrant. You know, actually think wooden shoes and windmills. I actually have wooden shoes here. It's kind of funny. It's a story that I tell. But I immigrated to this country when I was 6 years old with my mother, Zvancha, and my brother, Albert. We ended up in Denver, Colorado, really didn't have much. In fact, we shopped at an expired food store because it was cheaper than real regular store. It's a true story. They had them back then, and drank powdered milk with our cereal in the morning because it was cheaper than real milk. And I wore clothes from the Goodwill and Salvation Army all the way through junior high school till I lied about my age when I was 14 because I was tall and got a job at Burger King flipping burgers so I could buy my own clothes. And, you know, and I'm sure you have listeners that had it harder than I did. And and maybe even have it harder now. But I knew I wanted more. And luckily, my mom had an incredible work ethic. So she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And she was a bit of an entrepreneur with her babysitting money. So she bought the house across the street from us when I was about 14 for about $30,000. And then when I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep. And this was when $20,000 was a lot of money, okay? And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. You made $20,000, you didn't do anything? Screw college, I'm getting into real estate. So I went and got into real estate. But my first year in real estate, I made about $8,000. My second year, maybe $10,000. But my third year, I made over $100,000, which back in 1980 was some pretty decent change. So what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened was I met a guy that taught me about mindset and psychology, and and how that's the biggest piece of the whole thing. You got to push through fear. You got to push through limiting beliefs to make things happen. And so fast forward to today, I've owned over 2,000 houses that I've rented long-term in 3 states. Excuse me. Yeah, 2,000 houses I've rented long-term in 3 states. I own thousands of apartment units now. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you might say, wow. I said, wow. And I got a head so big I could barely fit it through a door. I thought I was a real estate god. And you know when that happens, God of the universe will give you a nice little smackdown. Well, that was 2008. I lost $50 million in 2008 conservatively. And so what I'm known for talking about, my podcast and my boot camps is really the mindset it took to have $50 million to lose in the first place. And so what I'm known for talking about is the mindset it took to have $50 million to lose in the first place. And probably more importantly, the mindset it took to recover from that back, to the success that I'm blessed to have today. And happy to drill down on some of those pieces because
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
The strategies that I utilized to recover from losing $50 million are the same strategies that anyone listening that hasn't started yet, that knows they want more out of their life, would use to get going. And so happy to drill down on some of those pieces if you like.
Yeah, I would love to hear one of those strategies if you can give us a specific example.
Sure. Well, the first one is you got to know what you want. And so if you come to like this last boot camp I had this weekend, the first thing we did was goal setting on steroids, because how do you get anything if you don't know what it is? You've got to know what it is you want and why you want it, because that's how you push through fear. That's how you create that burning desire or that hunger, so that, because fear stops most people. So it starts with figuring out what it is you want, and then you've got to make a decision and move forward. And the Latin root for the word decision means to cut off. It's not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's not dipping a toe in the water. It's done. An example of a decision would be if you're going to attack the island, you burn your ships because you're taking their ships home. That's a decision. So it's, figuring out what you want, making a decision, and then the next piece is taking that first step. So, and a lot of people, are afraid to take that first step. They get caught in analysis paralysis, or they're afraid of failure. I'm going to tell you, fear regret much more than failure. Okay. There was a nurse in Australia, Michelle, that was a hospice nurse. Her name was Bronnie Ware. And so she had dealt with patients that were dying, and she asked them a question. And the question was, do you have any regrets? And she wrote a book about it, something like The 5 Regrets of Dying. And you know what the #1 regret was? It was a best-selling book. But the #1 regret is not living the life I could have lived, living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. I can't think of anything worse than that. Don't fear failure. I mean, I lost $50 million and I came back. So, there's nothing you can't pull back from. You've just got to, I call them seminars. That was a big seminar. It was an expensive seminar, but it was a seminar. If you get, it's only a failure if you don't get back up or you don't get the lesson, but don't fear that. We fail our way to success. Fear regret.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an important mindset shift to have. And I love that you can see the lesson in it. Can you share what you feel that lesson was from that experience for you?
Oh, God, there were lots of lessons. I mean, from a technical standpoint, there were things that I did wrong from a technical standpoint. For example, I had 800 houses when the market crashed, but they were scattered 2 hours north of me, 2 hours south of me, and everywhere in between along the Gulf Coast of Florida. And I'll never own another house unless it's a third, fourth, fifth house for me as an investment. I don't believe in it. I just do multifamily because it was the houses that pulled me down. See, each house has its own taxes. It has its own insurance. And here in Florida, there's no state income tax, so the property taxes are exponentially higher. And I had properties in wind and flood zones that had higher insurance, and all of this impacts cash flow. But what killed me was the maintenance. These properties were primarily C-class properties. So there's A, B, C, and D. A is brand new. D is the hood. Stay out of the hood. Ask me how I know. But C is older property, tougher demographic. They're harder on the properties, and there's a lot more maintenance. And, if I sent a maintenance guy and I had several apartment complexes back then as well. And if I sent a guy to one of my apartment complexes to fix things, we could stockpile parts. So there, stockpile appliance parts, HVAC parts, plumbing parts, you name it, locks, door locks, window locks, whatever, and they can be in and out in an hour. Well, if I had to send them to a house that was an hour away, they'd have to go, every house is different, got to see what's wrong. Then they got to go to Home Depot or Lowe's where we have an account, which is probably another hour round trip. And I don't know about other guys that are listening, but when Rod tries to fix something, he ends up going to Home Depot more than once. And, and so what took an hour at one of my apartment complexes took all day at one of my 800 houses. So they never really fully cash flowed. And by the way, I get hate about this all the time. Yeah, you were probably over leveraged. I was at a 30% loan to value, and I still crashed and burned. Okay, I only owed 30 cents on the dollar. And, and then the last piece from a technical standpoint, again, not a mindset piece, but from a technical standpoint, I didn't pay attention to tenant demographics back then. If they had good credit and they didn't have, and they had the deposit.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
I let them rent. They had a source of income. Well, what I discovered after the fact was I had a lot of contractors, plumbers, electricians, drywallers, painters, roofers. And that work fell off a cliff in 2008 and 9. And so they didn't have work. So it was like the perfect storm. And you want to hear something crazy? By the end of 2009, I was trying to sell the whole portfolio. Just take it, just pay off the debt. And I couldn't even sell the whole portfolio. And the value dropped below what I owed on it. So it dropped more than 70% here in Florida. Florida, Arizona, California were the hardest hit back then. But anyway, from a technical standpoint, and this is why, I started my podcast, 9 or so years ago, to tell people if you're going to buy and hold real estate, for God's sakes, do multifamily, don't do single family. Ask me how I know. By the way, I give out T-shirts at my boot camp that say #ask me how I know. A student gave me one once, and because I'm like, don't do that. Ask me how I know. And so anyway, I've said it twice now. That's why.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's such a powerful experience that not many people.
Painful might be a better descriptor, but but you recover. Like I said, when it happened, I reassociated with my goals. I made a freaking decision. I took the first step to get back on track. And I made sure that I was focusing on what I wanted, not what I didn't want. It would be very easy to focus, on what you don't want. Focus is power. And see, what a lot of people don't realize is what you focus on gets larger, both positive or negative. And so, I have people call me and say, how do I get out of student loan debt? I'm like, wrong question. How do you make so much money that debt's irrelevant is the right question. Like they asked Mother Teresa if she was anti-war. She said, no, I'm pro-peace, right? It's kind of the same thing, but you get the message in that. And it's funny. I listen to 2 podcasts, Michelle, Joe Rogan and Tim Ferriss, to get both sides of the aisle. I'm definitely on one side. But on Tim Ferriss's show, I brag my podcast probably pushing 30 million downloads. Those guys get it a week, on those shows. But on Tim Ferriss's show, he interviews the best of the best in the world, the best athletes like Michael Phelps, the swimmer, NFL, NBA players, actors like Ed Norton, Hugh Jackman, Arnold, billionaires like Ray Dalio, CEOs of the biggest companies in the world like Zuckerberg, and he deconstructs their success. It's a fascinating conversation. But I started to hear a pattern, Michelle. They almost all meditate. What does meditation enhance? Focus. Again, focus is power. So focus on what you want, not what you don't want.
That's such an important message. I think that the audience is really going to get value from that. And let me ask you this. What are you most focused on solving or scaling next? Like, what's that next real big goal for you?
Well, solving. Interesting question. I went through all of the materialistic goals over my lifetime. I mean, the watches, I've got probably almost $2 million of the watches, the Lamborghini, the Rolls Royce, the Bentley, all that stupid crap that I thought was important at one time.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
I will tell you, people's goals shift as they get older. They experience some success. And my goal really now is I've got a wall in I've got 6 buildings here. I've got a compound on the water here in Sarasota. And in my other office, I've got a wall covered with hundreds of thank you cards from my students. And this is going to sound self-serving or maybe like hyperbole, but it's not. I get incredible satisfaction from seeing my students' success. I'm very, very proud of it. So that's a big area of focus for me. We're continually improving our program. They're called my warriors, my coaching students, and they're called my warriors, and we're continually improving it. And it brings great joy to my life. I get love every single day. I mean, every day I get cards or gifts or DMs or emails from students or people whose lives have been impacted by my work. And what's really cool is I get recognized pretty much on a weekly basis anymore. And that's never going to get old. I mean, that makes me feel so good when that happens. So, again, my priorities have shifted. And that gives, that's purpose. I tell people, figure out what your purpose is in life. And ideally it's a way to make the world a better place. Ideally, that's incorporated in your purpose, or your family better, or your kids better, or something. It's outside of you, but you got to figure out what it is, because when you're operating in your purpose, and your strength as well. I tell people, play to your strengths. In the multifamily real estate business, there's lots of different hats you can wear, and it's a team sport. And so, you're not going to do it all. You're not going to take down a 100-unit apartment complex by yourself. You're going to do it with other people, but you want to play to your strengths. Your strengths are your greatest assets. When you're playing to your strengths, you're loving what you're doing. And when you love what you do, work is play, and you really don't work another day in your life. And when you love what you do, you're passionate about it. And when you're passionate about it, you have the ability to influence people. And influence is required to do any business. If you're going to raise money for these deals you're buying, or if you're going to influence, partners, potential investors, whatever, it requires passion. And that passion breeds innovation and breeds creativity. And when you hit a speed bump, if you're loving what you're doing and you're working, in your purpose and what you're strong at, you hit a speed bump, you push through it. It doesn't completely derail you. Now, are you going to have setbacks? Are you going to get your nose bloodied? Are you going to get your butt kicked? Yes. But if you're working in your passion and you're happy with what you do, you push through because, you're loving what you're doing, and it's a blip. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's super valuable. And when you mention like your students, can you expand more on what it is that you're teaching your students, or what your program
Sure.
entails?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's kind of gotten a life of its own. I have about 2,000 students around the country. And like I said, they own, besides the I don't know, could be 280,000 units in multifamily. They own senior housing, student housing, hotels, mixed-use retail, industrial flex space, mobile home parks. You name it. Every asset class is being purchased by my students. And there's the power of your peer group, okay? And there's that adage, a rising tide lifts all ships. Now, here's the problem. A lot of people have fear and limiting beliefs, but when they can see other people doing what it is they want to do, people that have nothing on them, it helps mitigate that fear. When they can bounce deals off each other, out of those units I was just talking about, whatever it is, 265 to 280,000 units that we know of, almost all of them are done between warriors because it's a team sport. And so, the power of your peer group is critical. And you show me, you've heard the adage, you are the people you hang out with. You show me your three best friends. I'll show you who you are: your health, your happiness, definitely your finances. Okay. And so, and here's the sad reality though, Michelle, most people default to a peer group that they went to school with or that they work with. And those people may have their own fear and limiting beliefs. Okay. And maybe they're afraid of losing you, or they're afraid of, feeling less than if you succeed. And sometimes it's family. So I'm going to tell you, proactively, love your family, but proactively choose your peers, okay? Be very careful who you allow to influence you. I remember when I was losing everything in 2008 and 9, I was in Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership, and that was about $100,000 back then, all in, and I was around people that were killing it. They were killing it in that crash. They knew it was coming. I didn't. I had rose-colored glasses on or whatever, but they knew it was, so they were like just thriving, and they're like, get up, you puss, 50 million, schmillion, just go get up and make something happen. That's who you want to be around, okay, is people that will push you and hold you to a higher standard. So I started a mastermind. Myself. At one time, I think probably had 40, 50 billion in assets represented by the members, and it just became too much. It was like herding cats. But I started it because I wanted to be around people that thought what I thought was hard was easy. And so that's what I want to tell you if you're listening. Get around people that what you think is hard is easy, and that's going to that's how you raise the bar. If you're playing tennis, do you want to play somebody better than you or worse than you? Hello? You know the answer. So your peer group is critical. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Relationships are everything in this space, and your network really defines that.
Yeah. That's exactly right. So be careful who you choose. Be careful who you hang out with. Because, it's same thing with kids. You want to see who your kids are hanging out with, because who they hang out with is who they become. So it's super critical. But, I'll share something else with you. And this might sound a little oofy-foofy to some of you, but this is how I had $50 million to lose and how I got it back, so you may want to ignore it at your peril. So I want to talk about gratitude for a minute. Gratitude is the most important foundational emotion we have available to us. It strengthens our immune system, lowers our blood pressure, brings us closer to our spirituality, and it's how we manifest anything we want in life. Most mornings I will sit in my recliner in my other office, and I've got my vision boards there, and I will just do gratitude. I'll be gratitude for the people I have in my life that I love, for my students, for my foundation, and then I'll do gratitude for the things that I want as if I already have them. And now you could call it prayer if you like, but I've gotten emotional being grateful for things I don't even have yet. Now, you might be laughing and, well, this is how I had $50 million to lose and how I got it back. So, you could ignore it if you want, but it freaking works, okay? And I'll share one other thing with you that I like to share. So, when I immigrated, we ended up in Denver, Colorado, but I knew I always wanted to live on the beach, and there's no beach in Denver. And so, but I would visualize the palm trees and the surf and the sand. And for 20 years, I would visualize that. And 20 years later, I built this incredible mansion on the beach. Just to describe it, I owned the beach on one side, I had my boats on the back side. It was 10,000 square feet. I had a waterfall from the second floor balcony into the pool. The pool was in magazines, a big spiral staircase up through the middle. I'll land the plane with, elevator, wine cellar. On the second floor, I had aquariums built around the staircase, cost me almost $200,000. So this gives you an idea of the house. So 2 months after I moved in, I worked for it for 20 years, right? 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in the pool at night. I'm looking up at this testament to my ego. It was really to prove to the world I was good enough. That's the truth of us. Because I had stuff happen to me when I immigrated. I got beat up in school and had some other stupid stuff that everybody's had happen to them. But, I used to ask myself, how can I show them I'm good enough? So that's a limiting belief, by the way. You need to, if you're consciously aware of those, drag them out of the daylight, because there's a reason the acronym for belief systems is BS. It's because 99% of them are BS. But we believe they're real. Like my mom, after I got thrown into school and didn't speak English, so I found out what bullies were. Then she sent me to school in these wooden shoes. Okay, can you imagine? I was crack cocaine for the freaking bullies. Okay, and then the bullies would chase me home, and she'd chase them off with a fly swatter. So the next day I got my ass kicked. And and again, that's how I came up with this belief system. But a lot of people have them, and if you have them, I would just caution you: pull them out into the daylight, look at them with your adult rational mind, recognize that they're BS, and they will go away. I used to be afraid to raise my hand in front of 10 kids in a classroom, and I was speaking in front of thousands of people a year, typically in flip-flops, okay? Because I got past that. But anyway, back to the story. So I had built this thing to prove to the world I was freaking good enough. If that didn't do it, what would? So I'm looking up at this thing, and I got depressed, and again, this place was magnificent. I had the Maserati and the Mercedes and the boats and the jet skis and all the stuff. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? How could I possibly be depressed right now? My beautiful family's inside sleeping. And this ties into the goal setting part of it. So, so there were three things happening. Number one, you should never have a big goal that you achieve without having other goals lined up behind it. Because like the good book says, without a vision, the people perish. You need a vision for your future. And I didn't know what I was going to do next. So that was number one. Number two is it's never about the goals. You got to have them to create that burning desire and that hunger. But happiness comes from progress and growth. You got to be growing. And I didn't know what I was going to do next. So that was the second critical piece. With the goal thing, you've heard the expression, the happiest days of a boat owner's life, the day they buy the boat and the day they sell the boat. Again, you need the goals, because that's what pulls you out of fear, pulls you to push through limiting beliefs. Or maybe you're comfortable, right? Comfort zone's a nice warm place, Michelle, and we know nothing freaking grows there, right? You got to get out, you got to actually make something happen. So that was the second piece. But the third most important one was I'd been totally focused on me, because I had to prove to the world I was good enough. Rod, show the world I matter, blah, blah, blah. And that's the year I went and saw Tony Robbins. This was 25 years ago. And I saw that he fed families for the holidays. I'm like, what a concept. Do something for someone else. I'm embarrassed to say I had to be 40 to get that memo. And I called my brother in Denver. I said, bro, let's feed 5 families, because I was going to go visit him for Thanksgiving. So he called his church, found 5 families who really needed help. And we had a lot of fun buying everything. But the third family changed my life, Michelle. So we go up to this house, and it was a Hispanic woman with 5 kids. And it wasn't even a 1-bedroom. It was a crappy place. It wasn't even a 1-bedroom. And she came out and saw the stuff on the porch, and we had toys for the kids because we knew she had kids, and she started crying, and her kids came out. 2 of the older ones started crying. I started crying, and I'm hooked. Now, listen, this is not me bragging if you're listening, okay? There's a really important message in this relating to success, okay? So don't tune me out right now. So, I'm blessed to say in the last 25 years, I've fed over 150,000 children here in my immediate area. It's probably more than that. And I've provided tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies to local kids, at-risk kids that don't have basic supplies for school. Don't get me started on that. But I just ordered 2,000 for August. I've done thousands and thousands of teddy bears to local police departments for their officers to keep in their vehicles if they encounter a child that's been in a traumatic situation. And again, I'm not bragging here. Tony Robbins calls it the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. Achievement's a science. If you want to learn multifamily, get your butt to one of my boot camps, okay? I'll give you a code at the end of this. You can come for $47, spend 2 days with me, and I don't even sell anything there. So it's just 2 days of training for $47. So no excuses, okay? But that's a science. I'll give you the blueprint. You just got to go do it, okay? But fulfillment is an art. Remember, the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. Fulfillment's an art. You got to figure out what juices you. For me, it's kids. It's also the elderly. Maybe for you it's animals. Maybe it's the environment. But you got to figure it out, and you got to give back right now. And you might be saying, well, you had money, that's why you gave back. Well, you want the money? Give back. That's how you get it faster. That's the way God works. That's the way the world works. So, anything you want, you give. And so, again, my message to you is no matter what, start giving back, figuring out what juices you and fulfills you. Because I will tell you, I've met super wealthy men that have sat on my couch right across here, and they are not fulfilled because they're still totally focused on themselves. So, all right, I'll get off my soapbox. But
That was such a powerful message. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, your story, your
Thank you.
perspective. It's really a unique way of sharing like your light and your wisdom. So thank you.
My pleasure. So if you are interested in my boot camp, let me just throw that in there. And there's tons of free resources here as well. Go to rodslinks.com. And what's a code we could give them to get that price? Because it'll be higher.
Fuel, right?
Fuel, that's right. So use the code FUEL to get that $47 price. Again, I don't sell anything. You'll leave knowing how to find deals, evaluate deals, finance them, raise all the money you need for them, syndicate, joint venture, property management, you name it, all of it. You'll leave knowing how to do that for $47 freaking dollars. And there's about $3,000 in bonuses too. So there's no excuses, okay? And I don't think I've ever had a complaint with thousands and thousands and thousands of people, other than the breaks are too short because I'm trying to pack so much into the 2 days. But anyway, again, if you have any interest in real estate, get your butt to one of my boot camps, rodslinks.com. And there you go.
Amazing. Yes. Hopefully people reach out to you and connect with you and get in that boot camp. So yeah, thank you so much again. And for those of you tuning in, if you got value from this, make sure you're subscribed. We've got more conversations coming with operators just like Rod out here building real businesses, and we'll see you all on the next episode.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.